Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show, Red Pill Edition. My name is Leon Jones, and in this segment, I'm going to briefly go over tonight's vice presidential debate. So, the title of this evening's video is Pence versus Harris. Pence versus Harris. Now, as far as the debate is concerned, both parties, they did miss some key questions. They also went overtime. But in the end, I believe Vice President Pence, he got the best of Kamala Harris. And here's why. Kamala Harris has a problem answering tough questions. She was asked by the moderator about the court. When she can't answer a question, she loves to laugh, or she'll deflect from the question. Now, as a voter who has looked at both parties, she will pack the court. She is the top liberal senator in the Senate. She believes in socialism. If you heard what she said, she repeated a bunch of talking points, like taxes. Okay. If you tax the first tier people and the second tier people, I'm talking about the wealthiest 1%, and then the second wealthiest people, let me give you a number of $400,000 and up. Here's the problem with that. There's not enough of them to go around. So when they're all taxed out, who are the next people to be taxed? That's people like me. So in actuality, she admitted, just like Joe Biden admitted, that they would raise taxes. Joe Biden would raise the corporate tax. Now, I wish Pence had brought up Hunter Biden and what he did in China, what he did in Ukraine. Also, when it comes to the military, Kamala Harris repeated what the media said. The media, known as The Atlantic, had come up with an anonymous person who said Trump said the veterans were losers. We don't know who that anonymous source was, but she repeated it. And she was very upbeat about repeating it. And she talks about helping the American people. I did not hear her propose anything about school choice. Pence hit her hard with the abortion. Pence hit her hard with the fracking. Of course, Joe Biden is going to say he's for fracking in a swing state like Pennsylvania. But prior to that, he was against fracking. Okay, when it came to the coronavirus, Kamala Harris still believes it's Trump's fault. Again, Kamala Harris still believes it's Trump's fault. So basically, what you had on the stage is somebody who has been an executive and a lawmaker, and then somebody who's been just a lawmaker. Now, Kamala Harris got the seat because of Barbara Boxer's retirement. But when Mike Pence hit her on a record with African Americans, we all know she's put a number of African Americans in jail. She got defensive. And she said it twice on stage. I don't need a lecture from the vice president. Now, what if the vice president had turned around and said, I don't need a lecture from you? All hell would have broken loose and he would have been looked at as a misogynist. And see, during this whole campaign, the media has led the charge of being anti-Trump. Kamala Harris went back over Charlottesville. Pence had to come back and say, well, the media, for the most part, disregarded some of what Trump said. And I'm going to repeat it to you. Trump did denounce the KKK and other white supremacist groups. He should have also denounced Antifa. But now I wish Pence had turned around and said, well, do you denounce this violence that's going on in these Democratic cities? Now, again, these are debates and you can't get everything out in 90 minutes. What I'm giving you is my overview on why I believe Mike Pence won. He was a little more calmer on the issues. She tried to attack religion. He went after her when it came to abortion. Now, the funny thing is, and I don't know if anybody caught it, when both of them were to respond to a question that an 8-year-old sent in about why both parties and the American people are fighting one another, Pence put out a good message. But she, because it was a girl, not a woman, a girl, she says her leadership is going to help, meaning women in power. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I don't believe a number of women should be in power. Kamala Harris showed that tonight that women, and I'm not saying all of them, but a number of them, aren't capable of running anything because they're too emotional. They're too defensive, especially a number of women of color. In fact, most of your women of color today are supporting feminist policies, even though they go to church, even though that they tell you about the Bible. Many of your African American women are going to support the Democratic Party. Now, Kamala Harris claims that she is African American. Prior to that, she said she was Indian. And her birth certificate, I believe, had her as a Caucasian. So you have to ask yourself, do you want that person in office? Because she, just like Joe Biden, is looking for an opportunity. She's trying to please everybody. And in the real world, you're not going to please everybody. She talked about the economy. Well, looking at the economy prior to COVID, the economy was going well. She talked about the economy under Obama, Biden. Well, during that administration, you had a lot of slow growth. See, when it comes to Obama, when it comes to Biden, when it comes to Harris, both of those individuals believe in government doing everything for you. Kamala Harris talked about free community college, suspending loan debt up to $10,000. And I believe she mentioned something about 4-year colleges for free. Well, if you want to institute those programs, somebody's got to pay for those programs. So who's going to pay for these programs? We who are the working people will pay for those programs. I will repeat myself again. We, as the American people who are working people, will end up paying for these programs. Now, she tried to go after Pence about pre-existing conditions with Obamacare. Well, pre-existing conditions were not suspended. What was taken away from Obamacare was the so-called, I call it a tax, the mandate. And if you don't have health insurance, you will be penalized on your tax returns. Well, Donald Trump got rid of those mandates. And when she talked about taxes, she said this economy is poor, even though Trump did cut taxes. Now, what tells me about Kamala Harris is this: she does not have knowledge of the issues. She's a California liberal, and she wants to bring San Francisco values to Washington. And at the end of the day, she's a dangerous person to be in power, especially in the seat of the presidency. She has no executive experience. She doesn't understand budgets. She doesn't understand how to work foreign affairs. She doesn't understand anything about the military. And in my humble opinion, and I've heard people from California talk about how poor she was as a prosecutor in the state of California. But again, overall, looking at this debate, I believe Pence was more calm. Pence had a better grasp of the issues. Again, when your opponent starts to get upset by saying, I don't need a lecture from the vice president, already she's disrespecting that man. And this is what a number of the brothers talk about here on Black YouTube when black women disrespect black men. Because had it been the other way around, there would have been a problem. The media would have been all over this. Now, of course, the liberal media is going to come out and say that Kamala Harris won the debate. She didn't do anything. She was just repeating talking points. I did not hear Kamala Harris come out and say, we denounce the riots going on in urban areas. Now, something else that should have been brought up was the stimulus bill. Why are the Democrats holding up the stimulus bill? I wish Pence had asked her that. Well, the Democrats are holding up the stimulus bill because there was information in that stimulus bill that had nothing to do with coronavirus. Now, Biden has had 47 to 50 years in politics. What has he really done? The only thing that I can tell you he hasn't done was help black people out, the 1994 crime bill. Now, getting back to issues of race, I wish Pence had hit Kamala Harris with what Trump has done for HBCUs, the $500 billion economic package. Now, I'm really not sold on that because when that money gets into the wrong hands, it's not going to get to the black communities. Now, you got some hoteps out there talking about, oh, well, Trump did A, B, C, D, E for black people. Well, that money's got to get to you. Because when you have a large sum of money like that, that's supposed to be for a community, it's going to go to the bureaucrats. And if you don't believe me, look how much money the United States has given Africa. That money has never gone to the people. Now, looking at everything when it comes to this debate, Kamala Harris is more liberal than Joe Biden. And I don't believe Kamala Harris likes Biden. I don't believe the left likes Biden. Kamala Harris is fake. She's an opportunist. And if you don't believe me, you look at how she dodges questions. Now, if you really want to go back and hear something that made a number of black women look bad, which I'm going to go off topic a little bit, look at what Michelle Obama has said. She makes a lot of money, but yet she says this country is still racist. Well, you have to ask a number of these black women, because it's a number of black women and older black guys, when it comes to racism. Are they victims, or do they just want to hear themselves talk? Okay, we know there's ignorance coming from every direction. But let me hop on this debate. This debate did not have the interruptions that last debate had. Now, what I am hoping for the next debate is Trump and Biden need to come out and be adults about the issues. Now, I know Chris Wallace, and I'm not a fan of Chris Wallace. I'm really not a fan of Fox News anymore, because you got people like Donna Brazile and you got other Democrats on Fox News who basically have a socialist mindset. And again, socialism will never win in this country. And that's what I want to bring up too when it comes to socialism. Socialism just makes everybody impoverished. And at the end of the day, nobody wins. The bureaucrats and the corporations are the ones who are going to benefit. We as the American people, when we go and vote, we need to be knowledgeable of the issues as well. Now, I know a number of people are going to go out and vote for Biden because they hate Trump. That's a stupid reason to vote. What are the policies? And at least with this debate, I understood the policies. I wish I was the one asking questions. Had I asked the questions, Kamala Harris would not have come off with that attitude against Joe Biden, against Mike Pence. And I'm sounding like Joe Biden tonight because I keep stumbling like Joe Biden, and I very much apologize for that. I'm a little tired. Just finished watching an hour and a half of the debate, and I have traveled 2 hours from school, which I live in Lafayette, Indiana, and I had to travel from the Ohio line, Richmond, Indiana. But I still wanted to present this information because we're going to be voting. This election is crucial. And speaking of elections, she couldn't answer any question about the election. She just said, if you want to change this country, you got to go and vote. No, we want a fair election. We don't want mail-in ballots. We don't want hanging chads like the Bush-Gore election. And we want a good Supreme Court. Again, Kamala Harris, when it came to the Supreme Court, she couldn't even answer that question either. Because, in retrospect, if the Democrats take the Senate, they take the House. They're going to find some way to change this country so you won't have any more presidents like Trump or even athletes apply for the job. It'll be establishment people. And if you think about it, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they're for the establishment, the entertainers, they're for people who live that cosmopolitan lifestyle. And when it comes to renewable energy, okay, there are not too many renewable energy jobs out there. You get rid of fossil fuels, you're going to lose a lot of jobs. Now, going back to manufacturing, it was Obama, it was Biden who shipped jobs over to China. And Obama said the jobs weren't coming back. And I'm talking about manufacturing jobs. Well, Kamala Harris put two numbers up there. She said, and I think the second one was a gap. She said over 300,000 jobs were lost from this Trump administration. Again, she said 300,000 jobs in manufacturing were lost in this administration. Then her gap is 300. Well, I'm not going to get her on that 300 gap because we all make gaps. But what I'm simply telling you is you have to listen to what a politician says. And Kamala Harris wasn't loyal. She wasn't forthright. She came off as somebody that you wouldn't like. And when you're running for office, you have to be likable. And I know Trump's style turns people off, but Trump was in the private sector. He was a boss. And being a boss, you're going to hurt some people's feelings because your job is to get something done. I believe if something happened to Trump, Mike Pence would be a better vice president. I would trust him over Kamala Harris. Now, Mike Pence was the governor of my state here in Indiana. Now, I heard some good things about him here, and I heard some bad things about him. Just like Mitch Daniels. But at the end of the day, Mike Pence was an executive. He knows about budgets. He knows about running an establishment. Kamala Harris was a prosecutor, and a bad one at that. She's lucky to be in that position because she slept her way to the top. People talk about how much of a strong personality she has. She doesn't have a strong personality. She comes off as the same type of typical black woman, although she's not black. I'm not saying all black women are typical either, but an arrogant black woman who's trying to be masculine, who thinks because she's in a position of power, she has control. She didn't have control when she told Pence again she doesn't want to hear anything from him like a lecture. Well, you are running for office. Your record is going to be exposed. You talk all this racism stuff, but I wish Pence had hit her on, okay, Joe Biden selected you, but during that debate, you basically called Joe Biden a racist. But then when you were confronted about that, then you said it was only a debate. Well, when you're putting your name out there, people are watching you. And at the end of the day, you're running for vice president, or you've been selected as vice president. Which, if something happened to Joe Biden, if he wins, you're going to be in charge of the military. You're going to be in charge of the attorney general. You're going to be in charge of the EPA, the FHWA. You will be running this country. But from what I saw tonight, Kamala Harris is not equipped to be vice president. Now, again, I want to repeat myself. When it comes to racism, I wish Pence would have hit her on the job market for African Americans prior to COVID. Wish he hit her on how much money the Trump administration has given the HBCUs. Because when I look at Kamala Harris is a liberal. She's out there with Bernie, AOC, Pocahontas. She wants a socialist country. Again, when you're talking about giving people free college, somebody's got to pay for it. And then something else that she talked about, going back to taxes. First of all, when you give somebody a tax cut, taxes do not incur debt. When you cut taxes, that's just less money coming into the government that's going to be wasted anyway with pork barrel spending. But at the end of the day, Kamala Harris is fake. She doesn't care about the American people. She only cares about herself. It's great that she's a senator, but there have been other people who have done better than she has. Again, Kamala Harris got her break from sleeping with a married man named Willie Brown, who was the mayor of San Francisco. Now, when you have Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi in power together, that's destruction. They want to bring San Francisco values to the rest of us. And Joe Biden, again, he's had almost 50 years. He's failed the presidency twice. Joe Biden gets a little upset as well. But again, looking at this debate, Trump was tweeting during this debate. You go look on Twitter. He didn't miss a beat. Now, hopefully Trump is getting notes, because I believe that debate is going to be a different debate as well. Because the difference between Trump and Pence, Trump is not a politician. Pence is a politician. He understands how Washington works. But going back to Kamala Harris, I do not hate Kamala Harris, but I just believe she's not likable. She doesn't care about black men. She's a feminist. And again, the Democratic Party is filled with a lot of feminists. But going back over that whole debate, Mike Pence won that debate. Now, of course, the media, like CNN, MSNBC, and the rest of the alphabet channels, they're going to spin it as if Kamala Harris won. She didn't win. Kamala Harris could barely answer any of those questions. So, going back to this debate, it was refreshing to see that there weren't any interruptions going on. But when you sit down and talk about real issues to the left, you really find out where they're coming from. Kamala Harris said they want to raise taxes, they want the Green Deal. But in the long run, that's going to kill jobs for the American people. So, I've given you my analysis on the debate. I've put it out there on why I believe Mike Pence won. What I want you all to do is give me your thoughts, because it's getting near election time. So when you vote, know the issues. But my question to you is, do you want freedom or do you want socialism? You be the judge, because it's not what your country can do for you, it's what you can do for your country. Quote by the late President John F. Kennedy. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. You can also check out the Mind of STEM channel. On that channel, I'll give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. And you can hear more of me on Blog Talk Radio. 215-383-5785 is the number. And if you can't find me on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, simply check me out on Twitter. And again, I apologize for the gaffes, but since it's night, I'm going to leave you with this. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And listen, enjoy making this content, support my content, share my videos. I'm going to continue to pump this free content out, and you may donate to my PayPal account and my Cash App account. Again, if you don't like what's going on, simply change it. But at the end of the day, thank you for listening to this commentary right here on the 411 Talk Zone radio show. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. You all have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.